Okay, in this example, we're going to look at evaluating an expression where we substitute a value in for a variable. We can see that we're going to let x equal -5. And let's see what happens. In part A, we're going to do x squared plus x to the third power. It's a good idea whenever substituting values into an expression, and we put parentheses around that value. So we're going to have -5 squared plus -5 to the third power. Remember, squaring something means multiplying by itself. So we're going to get -5 times -5 plus, taking something to the third power means multiplying by itself 3 times. So we get -5 times -5 times -5. So here it goes. -5 times -5 is positive 25. -5 times -5 times -5 is negative 125. We got a double sign here, plus negative. Some people like to use that. It's okay. I prefer not to use that. So adding a negative is the same thing as subtracting. We call this 25 minus 125, and that is negative 100. So to evaluate means find the value of. The value of our expression in part A is negative 100 whenever x is -5. Okay, in part B, we need to remember our order of operations. We have -2 times -5 to the fourth power. So we have multiplication, we have to work with exponents. We work with exponents before multiplying, so this is going to be -2 times, let's see, -5 to the fourth power. -5 times -5 times -5 times -5. That's positive 625. -2 times 625 is negative 1,250. Be careful, make sure we do our steps in the correct order. Take a look at part C. We got to remember something about negative exponents. Negative exponents mean reciprocal. So when we see x to the negative third power, it's the same thing as 1 over x cubed. So in this case, we're going to have 1 over -5 cubed, which is 1 over negative 125. When you have a negative in a fraction, the negative sign can show up in 3 places. You can call it -1 over 125, because a negative divided by a positive is a negative. You could call it 1 over negative 125, because a positive divided by a negative is a negative. Or you could put the negative sign in front of the fraction and just call this negative 125th. It really doesn't matter where you put the negative sign, but for computations we use in the future, I'd like to get in the habit of putting the negative sign on top of a fraction in the numerator. You don't have to, but that's how we're going to do it in our class. Okay, notice we're not using a calculator yet. We can use a calculator to check answers, but we're working on our basic skills. Let's take a look at part D. We've got 7 minus the quantity x cubed, so 7 minus -5 cubed. Well, with subtraction, and we have an exponent. Let's do the work on the exponent first. We have 7 minus negative 125. We've got a double sign again, minus and negative. I prefer to write that with a single sign, so that's going to be 7 plus 125, 132. Moving on to part E. Now this is multiplication. There's no symbol between the 7 and the quantity negative, the opposite of x cubed. So we got 7 times the opposite of x cubed. Well, substituting, this will be 7 times the opposite of -5 cubed. We don't like a double sign. Double sign, that's kind of like street algebra. You can do that out on the street, but in our classroom, it can be a little bit more formal. Not talking to your buddies on the weekends here. We're going to call this 7 times 5 cubed. No, 7 times 5 cubed is going to be 7 times 125. Let's see, that's going to be 875. Well, thank you for watching the video. I hope it was helpful. As always, if you have questions, bring them to class or seminar or before school or after school. Good luck with your practice problems.